This question was based on the Lex Corporation case study, and it's looking at their strategy of retrenchment. Now, when we're considering retrenchment, you need to think about the scaling down of operations or the scaling down of production. The reason for that is it could be because they've grown too fast, or maybe they're experiencing severe profit warnings. And the ways that they can carry out retrenchment is maybe to make redundancies, freeze recruitment. It could be to close down certain product lines, and so on. So I've gone through the case study and I've highlighted key areas in terms of what I think could be used as evidence for this question. Now, in terms of the types of retrenchment that they're carrying out, I can see that they're going to sell the television and PC divisions, so that could be considered retrenchment. They've made significant cutbacks to the global workforce, 6% being reduced. And it looks like they might be delayering because they're going to change the management structure as well. Now, I've also broken down the question and I've looked at ICF to do so. So I is instruction, and the instruction is to analyse the drawbacks. The context is Lex, and the focus is the strategy for retrenchment. We've already identified the different strategies of retrenchment within this case study. Now we need to look at the consequences and the drawbacks. Now, again, I've highlighted some key areas as to relate to this. First of all, if we're thinking about the strategy of redundancy and rationalisation as an area of retrenchment, we can look at the low motivation amongst Lex employees, with many of the company's talented engineers and designers already having left the company. And also, if we think about the sale of divisions through TV and PC, we could look at maybe the risk related to that in terms of they're already having major competitors in Apple and Samsung in terms of the iPhones, iPads and Galaxy gadgets, which are now dominating the market. If they sell on these divisions, could they be putting themselves at risk? So they're the points that I'm going to look at, and I'm going to create some model answers for you now. So my first point, I've put one drawback of the retrenchment strategy for Lex is the impact on the labour force. Due to the redundancies taking place, it seems to have demotivated the workforce, with key talented engineers already leaving the company. The redundancies may have impacted job security, with employees insecure about their role and how long they'll be at the company for. Ultimately, this could impact labour productivity at the company, which may not help to cut costs, as a lack of efficiency causes further problems to Lex's profits. I've also added one more sentence just to kind of further support my point about losing talented engineers. So I've put, furthermore, these lost talented employees could be even switching employment to key rivals such as Apple, which have already been mentioned earlier on, boosting their labour force and productive potential, again putting Lex on the back foot. So I've just highlighted points as to where the marks would come from. First of all, demoted workforce is the key point of the drawback of retrenchment, with context coming from key talented engineers already leaving the company and also possibly switching to their rivals such as Apple. My reasoning is highlighted in green in terms of job security, again maybe staff turnover in terms of switching, and also in terms of hurting labour productivity. And remember, the whole idea of retrenchment is to cut costs and help them to regain that profit. But if the labour productivity falls, then costs are not going to be cut. So my other drawback could be to do with limiting their product portfolio. The sale of divisions such as television might seem a logical choice as it's making losses. However, could it be a risky move limiting them to certain industries such as mobiles when they're already struggling to compete? If this strategy doesn't work and they also make losses in these industries, then it would be hard to recover. There is no guarantee that retrenchment via this way will help refocus or suddenly boost their competitiveness, especially if we consider Apple and Samsung are probably miles ahead in terms of innovation and R&D. So again, where do I get the marks from in this analytical point? So I think my main point is in terms of limiting their product portfolio. The context comes from the sale of divisions such as television and being a logical choice it's making losses, or the industry in terms of they're struggling to compete, and again using key companies such as Apple and Samsung. My reasoning is increasing risk for them. Think about risk-bearing economies of scale. Obviously, they're not in the position to achieve economies of scale. They're probably actually experiencing diseconomies of scale. But you could argue that by reducing their product portfolio, they're increasing that risk. And also, especially concentrating on industries which they're already not very competitive in and struggling against bigger companies like Apple and Samsung.